Welcome to Arizona Side-by-Side Project. Today we're going to be installing a Badlands 5,000 pound winch into this Can-Am Maverick Sport Max. So let's check it out. Alright, so to get started, let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need to do this job. We're going to need a 13mm socket, you need a couple extensions, and then I've got a 40 Torx and a 30 Torx, along with my impact wrench. This will make the job a lot easier. All right, so let's get ready to install this winch. The first thing that we're going to need to do is take off some of the bolts and Torx on the front here. One way you could do this is by taking off the whole front assembly, which I'm going to do. I think it'll just be easier for the video. And I'll make a link here at the top for the video I have on removing this. It's pretty easy. But I'm going to show you the bolts and the Torx that you need to take off if you're only going to be leaving the front end off. So the first one we're going to be taking off are these 13mm. We're going to have one up here on each side. Okay, we're going to loosen those. Then we're going to come back down here to the bottom, and we're going to be loosening all 6 of these Torx 40s right here. Okay, we also have 2 Torx 30s up inside here. Around the side, on both sides, we have a 13mm bolt right here that we're going to need to remove. And then around the bottom here on the front side, we have 2 13mm that we need to remove. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, now that you have the assembly off, the winch actually installs upside down. So what we're looking at right here would be toward the top of the vehicle, and this is toward the bottom of the vehicle. And the winch will go in here and sits really nice. The included hardware that they give you, the front bolts will work through the space here. And what I did is I put one of the washers and a lock washer, and then I put the bolt through. On the back side here, there was a little bit more space that it had to go through, so I had to go get some additional hardware from Home Depot. And I think I went with like 1.5 inches on these bolts. I don't remember what the thread pitch or size they are, but just take the other ones with you and you should be able to match it up. And I even from there I had to use a couple washers, you can see right here, along with the lock washer, because they were bottoming out into the winch. So I messed around with that a little bit and got that tightened down and got that nice and secured in there. That shouldn't be a problem. When you do this, this is where you get to decide which side you want your wires. Do you want them coming out the right side or the left hand side? Ultimately, I decided for the wires to be coming out my left hand side. Another thing to note about I believe this is called a fair lead. The one that comes with this Badlands is like a 5.5 inch one or something like that, and it didn't fit from bolt to bolt, which essentially I think it's a 6 inch that goes across here. So I actually went on Amazon and bought an additional fair lead. Now if you're planning to upgrade to synthetic rope, you'll use a different fair lead. It won't have the rollers, so you could always put that on at this time. And I also picked up one of these rubber bump stops off of Amazon too. They're very handy, kind of keeps everything from getting wedged in there. So once you get everything bolted up, you're ready to reinstall on the machine. All right, so we got it all installed now. So now let's talk a little bit how I wired it up. To start with here, you're gonna have your 2 main wires from your winch come up the side here. And if you come a little closer here, what I did is I zip tied these wires just around the radiator hose here. And I worked them up the back side here, keeping them away from anything that's moving. And up here to what I think is this, it's a solenoid for this piece. It's really easy to work with. They're all color coded underneath here. These are little jackets they come with. So it's pretty easy to wire everything up. So once you get the blue, the yellow, and then you have a black and your red. Obviously black to ground and red is to the power. There's a few other wires here that also correspond. One's going to be for your remote and the other one's going to be going to accessory. And I'm going to show you how I have that all wired up inside the cab. But before we do that, let me show you where you have to run these wires through. Next, we're going to run these wires through this boot and into the cab. So if you get a little closer here, I'll show you. Right here, there's this rubber boot that'll have a zip tie around it. You're going to need to cut it. And it has these little fins on it that you can pull back and shove the wires in into the cab. So go ahead and feed all your wires into the cab, and we'll show you how we wired everything up inside. All right, so under the dash here, we have a bunch of wires that I've brought in. But back here, your wires are going to come through the firewall back here. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring them up to this accessory post right here. And there's just a little tiny piece that you can pop off. And it's pretty straightforward. You got ground on the far right. You've got constant hot power in the middle here. And then on the far left is accessory. So your winch will not work if you don't hook up, I believe it's one of the red smaller wires to this accessory lead. If you just do the red and black, it won't work. And this is beneficial so that your winch doesn't drain battery from your vehicle while it's turned off. So that's the way I have mine set up, and it works great. The place I mounted my switch, my main switch for the winch, is actually on the steering column here toward the bottom. This is right between your legs, and it's really easy to reach down and click and use on the system here. So it's really easy to just strap the supplied bracket across here and tighten down. And this has been a great location for me. So next, the piece comes with a remote. I believe you can get a wireless remote adapter for this system, but this one came with the wired one. And where I ended up plugging this in was right here in the dash. So check this out. This is right where I decided to put mine. It's kind of out of the way, but yet still very easy to access, and still on the side here for me to be able to use this while I'm standing outside the vehicle. Well, thanks for watching. Big shout out to Corey for the suggestion for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video if you thought it was helpful, and also subscribe to the channel so that you guys can get alerted when I make some awesome new videos for this ride. We'll see you in the next one.